प्रणाम, नमस्कार, सत श्री अकाल, राम राम साहब, हमारी वणक्कम। आप सभी का ऑल मीडिया में फिर से स्वागत है। मैं आपकी होस्ट राइजू देवी। हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं किशोर दत्तू फ्रॉम लंदन। ही इज अ टेक्नोक्रेट, आई वुड से, एन इंजीनियर बाय प्रोफेशन, बाय पैशन ही इज अ हार्डकोर नेशनलिस्ट, या फिर मैं राष्ट्रवादी कहूँ। और आज जो हुआ यूनाइटेड किंगडम में, ये ब्रिटेन में, ये एक्सपेक्टेड लाइंस पे लग रहा था, बट एक दो जगह बहुत बड़े सरप्राइजेस आए जो हमने सोचा नहीं था, स्पेशली लेस्टर में, जहां पर एक भारतीय महिला, मैं जिसको बोलूंगी, वो अपना चमचमाते हुए रंग में निकल कर आई है। बहुत सारे सरप्राइजेस और बहुत सारे डेटास के साथ आज हम हाजिर हुए हैं। किशोदा, अ वेरी वार्म वेलकम ऑन द शो।
नमस्ते गायत्री जी, और आपके ऑल्टरनेट मीडिया के सभी दर्शकों को भी मेरा प्रणाम। लास्ट टाइम मैं आपके शो में आया था, आई रिमेम्बर सितंबर 2022, व्हेन लिज ट्रस ने जीती इंटरनल पार्टी कॉन्टेस्ट में और प्राइम मिनिस्टर बनी, एंड तब ऋषि सुनक इंटरनल पार्टीज में हार गया था। बाद में इन अ ट्विस्ट ऑफ इवेंट्स, सरप्राइजिंगली विद इन ऑलमोस्ट 50 डेज ऋषि सुनक पीएम बना था। So from October 2022 till now, Rishi Sunak was the prime minister. तो इन अ वेरी ट्विस्ट ऑफ, जैसे आप उसके ऊपर नॉवल भी लिख सकते हो, ऐसे ट्विस्ट ऑफ ट्वेल्स में क्या हुआ कि ऋषि सुनक, आई मीन द पार्टी इन पावर 2019 में बोरिस जॉनसन जब जीता था दिसंबर में, दे हैव टाइम टिल दिस दिसंबर एक्चुअली। लेकिन ऋषि सुनक ने एक बड़ा गैम्बल लिया था एक तरीके से। He was normally seen as a safe pair of hands. Rishi Sunak is a very, very conservative in a way, very, risk नहीं लेने का ऐसा आदमी है। लेकिन सबको परेशान हो गया कि how, why is he, there is no need for him to go for an elections, an early elections, at least 5 months early. People could not understand his framework. लेकिन एटलीस्ट फ्रॉम जनवरी 2024 जनवरी से वो बोलता रहा, क्योंकि जो अपोजिशन से आप इलेक्शंस कब कॉल करोगे, इलेक्शंस कब रखोगे, पूछने वाला था। एवरी टाइम द आंसर हैज बीन माय वर्किंग assumption इज द सेकंड हाफ ऑफ द ईयर। तो एवरीबडी थॉट कि सेकंड ऑफ दिसंबर भी सेकंड हाफ होता है ना। तो एवरीबडी वर प्लानिंग, द अपोजिशन वाज प्लानिंग, द कंटेंडर्स वर प्लानिंग, अक्टूबर में होगा, नवंबर में होगा, ऐसे ही सोच रहे थे। बट एज सून एज May 22nd came in the parliament on Wednesday morning, there was another MP who asked कि elections कब कॉल करोगे। Then again he said कि आप, मैं हिंट दे रहा हूँ, अभी हिंट दे रहा हूँ, बोला कि सेकेंड हाफ ऑफ द ईयर। सो वो सब मजाक सोचे थे। Everybody thought कि it was a joke because he has been saying the same answer every time. But in the evening, the same day, very same day, he went out and called for an election. So that actually was a shocking start of the events. Nobody knew except for very little, small circle of their, immediate party members. At the time, Conservative Party, who is party, was actually behind polls, except जो exit polls बोलते हैं ना, predictions, जो polls, weekly polls करते हैं, was doing very bad. So they were only having 20 points for them, and the Labour Party had about 41, 42 points. They were very comfortable. कि everybody knew this was writing on the wall कि conservative हारने वाली है और Labour आने वाली है. But nobody knew कि why he had to, because अगर आपको पता है कि आप हारने वाले हो, कि 6 महीने पहले ही क्यों आप करना है। तो yesterday was elections, आज results आए। So the results were very much bang on with the exit polls that come out. So Labour, out of 650 seats, Labour has won 412. Conservative has won 121, which is their least in the history. Lib Dems बोलते हैं, Liberal Democrats, they have won 71 seats, and Scottish National Party has won 9 seats. And we will go to other voting percentages also, because that is very key. Just before going to the elections, the Conservative were at 40% vote share. Everybody thought that Conservative will have 40% vote share, and they were predicting Labour is at 40%, 40, 41, 42 उसी range में, and Conservative at 20%. Surprisingly, again, when the results came out, the overall vote share में से only 59%, close to 60% have voted. The voting turnout is about 60% roughly. उसमें से Labour has got 33.7, which is 7%, at least 7% less than the normal expectations. and the Conservative has got 23.7 exactly. So it's exactly 10% difference between Conservative and Labour. लेकिन if you see the vote percentage जो converse ratio होता है कि conversion of the votes into seats, and mind you कि जो last time 2019 में जब elections हुआ है, if you compare to that, the vote share Conservative को Labour को आया था plus 1.6%. जो 2019 में आया था उससे ज्यादा सिर्फ उनको 1.6% की वोट शेयर मिला था. लेकिन आपको वोट शेयर कन्वर्टेबिलिटी देखे तो फ्रॉम ऑलमोस्ट 211 सीट उसको ज्यादा आए हैं with a matter of just 1.6%. If you take the Conservative, they have lost 251 seats from 2019 and they ended up at 121. लेकिन if you see the vote share, they have lost about 20% vote share out of it. तो इसमें वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर है कि 2019 में इतने in the history of again Conservative Party after a very, very long time, they have got a historic mandate 2019 में when Boris Johnson was there. So the reason why Boris Johnson has got such a historic mandate was Brexit. तो everybody were like कि get Brexit done. सिर्फ यही मंत्र था उनको 2019 में इलेक्शंस में कि हम ब्रेक्सिट को अभी पार करेंगे, we will get the Brexit done. And if you go back, why Brexit is because they wanted to have the control of the borders, the immigration जो सीरिया से या बाहर से EU से migrants आ रहे थे वो कंट्रोल करना चाहते हैं क्योंकि if you are in the EU they cannot control. तो सिर्फ एक ही मंत्रा में जहां कंजर्वेटिव पार्टी कभी हिस्ट्री में कभी जीता भी नहीं, उस रेड वॉल सीट्स बोलते हैं उसमें भी 2019 में बोरिस जॉनसन के नाम पे जीत गए कंफर्टेबली. बट एट द टाइम the promises were such that कि with huge promises कि leveling north का, क्योंकि usually क्या है UK में there is a clear divide between north and south. तो north is considered to be a very red wall areas north में, south is is more of a blue in the sense कि conservative area है. तो he actually promised कि level up करेंगे, leveling up बोल के एक स्कीम आया था, नॉर्दर्न पावर हाउस करेंगे हम, एक स्कीम आया था. तो एक के बाद ये हम he was going promising very very huge कि NHS जो यहाँ नेशनल हेल्थ सर्विस आएगा है वहां, तो वहां वेटिंग लिस्ट हम करेंगे. तो he made huge promises which they could not keep up. The reasons why are mainly COVID. So जैसे 2019 में वो जीते, 2020 में COVID अटैक हुआ था. So the whole narrative, the whole agenda has completely gone out because the prime and ultimate motive of the whole government at the time across the world is COVID. It took up so much of their time and energy and everybody's lives, all that. So what happened was from there on the party lost the track. So the losing of this election was written at least 3 years ago, just after the COVID. So when Boris Johnson left in 2022, imagine the state of affairs कि 14 years में 2020 में 2010 में कंजर्वेटिव पार्टी आया था पावर में 2010 में, and after 14 years you had 5 prime ministers, 7 chancellors बोलते हैं, let's say financial secretaries, almost equal number of home secretaries, if not more than that. So you had no stability, a political stability in a way. And the infighting, the party infighting within, so many fractions हो रहा था, people were pulling here and there, different directions. That was the starting point of the defeat. And everybody knew, even the MP candidates in the Conservative Party knew कि वो मामला थोड़ा गड़बड़ है before going to the elections itself. So it was purely based on luck. But today, the other important factor, लेकिन I'll explain very, very short, कि thanks to Rishi Sunak, thanks to the British people or the Conservative Party, he is the first Indian origin, you can say Asian or a Hindu Prime Minister of UK. That shows from where the society was in the UK and how it became, where it reached in terms of diversity. So you have to respect that as somebody could aspire to become a prime minister of a English speaking country, starting from within 3rd generation of the Rishi Sunak to now with a mandate of 412 Labour MPs in the parliament, it has become very clear that the government has to change. That is the message from the people. And so many people were saying कि कंजर्वेटिव पार्टी इसलिए हारा कि ऋषि सुनक प्राइम मिनिस्टर है, क्योंकि वो ब्रिटिश नहीं है और लुकिंग ब्रिटिश नहीं है, वो हिंदू है या इंडियन ओरिजिन है. बट आई रेस्पेक्टफुली डिसएग्री विद दैट, क्योंकि इफ यू सी, आज मैं पूरा एनालिसिस कर रहा था कि कहाँ सीट में कंजर्वेटिव एमपीज हार गए थे. यू सी some MPs have lost with 15 votes. कंजर्वेटिव का 15. एक सीट में हार गए हैं 18 वोट से हार गए हैं. तो लिस्ट ट्रस जो हमने लास्ट टाइम आए थे तब बोला था, लिस्ट ट्रस was one of the turning points in the whole 14 years, क्योंकि जो वो बजट प्रवेश की, as soon as she became a prime minister, it was a disastrous, क्योंकि all markets fell off and the interest rates have gone up. So वहां से cost of living बोल के एक शब्द आया था. तो when she has lost only by 630 votes. The person everybody is very angry about, कि she is the cause of all this misery, cost of living crisis, ये interest rate बढ़ गए थे, stock market गिर गए थे. Even she lost with 630 votes. That tells कि people are not for Labour. People did not vote for Labour, but it was anti-conservative. I hope it is clear. कि I'm saying कि though you had 412 MPs, this is why I mentioned कि the percentage of Labour percentage is only changed 1.6% from 2019. But you had 412 MPs, so that means कि not everybody voted for Labour government, but anti-conservative government. Simple as that. The other important point why Rishi Sunak and the Conservative Party today lost is because when Brexit was the main point, when immigration was the main point, when border control was the main issue, the people from France especially and other parts of the country come to France, and from there boats में आ रहे थे यहाँ UK में, and there were a lot of asylum seekers from other countries coming to UK to settle here, and these people ये hotels में उसको रखते थे. These people who came on boats to UK were put on and in hotels, private hotels. You know how much a taxpayer's money is gone? It's in billions. So एक होटल को £1 billion, £2 billion, £3 billion इतने कर रहे थे. And to the astonishment of the whole country, these asylum seekers were given special treatment. I mean, the people, अरे उनको बच्चे हैं, बच्चे खेलने के लिए उनको फुटबॉल चाहिए, फुटबॉल पिच चाहिए, अरे अच्छा फुटबॉल इक्विपमेंट उनको करना है. तो the special treatment was completely unacceptable for the mainstream British people at the time. So this was one of the reasons why we will now hear a word called Reform Party, Reform UK. So the Reform Party was, you could say, anti-immigration or far right of the Conservatives. So people who are actually voted to Conservatives in 2019 have actually voted to Reform this time, because they were projecting themselves as the far right to stopping this immigration, what the Conservative has diluted. तो उसमें क्या हुआ कि जिस सीट्स में Conservatives हार गए थे, you can see exactly correlation कि Reform has taken away those votes. So Reform Party has been a vote cutter. आपको समझ में आ रहा है? Am I able to clearly explain कि Reform Party जो नया पार्टी बना था, उसने कंजर्वेटिव का जो कोर आइडियोलॉजी, जो इमिग्रेशन का, जो ब्रेक्सिट को वोट किए थे, वो पार्टी have taken up the votes that are supposed to go to Conservatives, if not Conservatives. And that party has got 14% of the vote share, though they won only 4 seats. 14% वोट शेयर उनका मिला था, लेकिन 4 सीटें जीती वो. बट wherever they increase their vote share, जो बहुत सारे सीट्स में जहां लेबर जीता, वहां रिफॉर्म was the third place, Conservative second, and third place was Reform Party. But if you club them together, जो 23.7 Conservative को आया है और 14% to Reform Party, if you match them together, it is far more than the Labour's percentage. So you could say कि it was the Reform Party especially Nigel Farage जो उनको leader है, he was the main vote cutter for the defeat today of the Conservative Party. The last point before you ask further questions is कि when the announcement was made कि elections के बारे में जब announce किया गया था May 22nd, 2024, Nigel Farage was not in the UK. He was not even contesting. He was just a chairman of the party, but he had a large influence on the party. So, there was another person who was leading the party. So he was expected not to contest or not to enter into the battlefield directly himself. And at that time, the reform was sitting at about 9%, 10% polling mein. Even less than that, actually. Lekin, as soon as the elections were announced, after a week of, into the elections campaign, Nigel Farage suddenly decides that he will step into the elections. That actually changed the mood of the far right or the pro immigration control people, the population, to vote for him, thinking he is the real contender. Abhi jo labor agar usko majority milega, he can be the opposition. So in almost all the constituencies where you have this Tory majority, last in 2019 में majority से जीता है, वहाँ he has cut the votes. So his influence has been a very serious effect on conservatives. So this is the question that everybody is asking now, Rishi Sunak, why don't you use extra 6 months जो आपके पास है to have the discussions with the Reform Party or take their concerns, put them in your manifesto कि हम ये करेंगे बोल के. So this is the big question everybody is asking. Clear.
जी, सो वी हैव रिजल्ट्स नाउ। ऋषि सुनक की पार्टी बहुत बुरी तरीके से हारी है और जिस तरीके से लेबर पार्टी ने इंटायरली टेक ओवर किया ये पूरा एकदम डिजास्टर हुआ है। बट हमें आप यूके में हो किशोर दा, इसमें कोई डाउट नहीं है, तो आपको बहुत इम्पैक्ट करता है। और मैं अफ्रीका में हूँ, मुझे इम्पैक्ट नहीं करता है एटलीस्ट डायरेक्टली, बट मैं ये जानना चाहूंगी डेफिनेटली कि आप रिश्तों पे क्या फर्क पड़ेगा, भारत के और ब्रिटेन के रिश्तों पे क्या फर्क पड़ेगा? जी।
Well, this is the big question, especially Rishi Sunak जब PM बना था, as most of you by now know कि जो इन्फोसिस नारायण मूर्ति है उनके दामाद हैं ऋषि सुनक, उनका दामाद है, उनका सन इन लॉ है. So that is how Rishi Sunak has become a famous figure in India also. Putting that aside, India is the third largest investor in the UK. In the Indians' contribution, though there's hardly about 1.8% है पूरा हिंदू और इंडियंस का जो 2% you could say, लेकिन they contribute about 6.5% of the whole GDP. So you could see the contributions of Indian community in the UK and how important and relevant to the UK economy and UK in general community spirit में. But in terms of India relations, क्या हुआ था 2010 में जब डेविड कैमरन has become prime minister, it was one of the first important things is to go to India and improve the relations with the Indian government and Indian people to people ties and all this. And especially after Modi has become prime minister in India, things have moved up very dramatically in a positive way, and they had a very strategic comprehensive partnership. So India invests about almost in the trade is about 39 billion है. लेकिन क्या हुआ था, because we are talking about labor majority, labor in the government now, जो केयर स्टारमर अभी प्राइम मिनिस्टर बना है, लेकिन उनके जो पिछला उनका लीडर था इससे पहले जेरेमी कॉर्बिन. So he is a very very different personality. They call him as a far left of a candidate. So when he was in charge back in 2017, 2019 during that elections, he was, I mean, you could understand they came to, his foreign secretary came to India in Delhi and telling Indian government, this is in, when Modi ji was in prime minister, as prime minister, कि कश्मीर को आपको पाकिस्तान को देना है. And he put a resolution, a motion in the British Parliament to discuss about Kashmir. So this is how bad the relation were with the Labour Party and the government of India and people of India. So it was completely alienated in 2019 elections because of the gap between the Labour Party and the Indian government. So it took a long standing for Keir Starmer to correct that. तो जब ये 2020 में he took over the party, Keir Starmer, वहां से लेके he worked out, and he actually understood the mistakes committed previously by his party leadership with India and Hindus especially, because they were completely alienated. So he worked on that. अभी जो relation है, in the recent, just last week, I was at a conference, India Global Conference बोल के, one of the main key speaker was David Lammy, who is the foreign secretary. अभी तो तब तो last week तो shadow बोलते, लेकिन अभी he's become the foreign secretary of UK. In his own words, is ki, I will be in India before end of July. If he win the election, I will be in India before end of July. And this time when we go there, we will not go there to lecture, but to listen. This was his own words. I'm quoting him. Okay, you can see the dynamics of it. You can see how the party has changed towards India, because India being the fastest growing economy in the world, and Indians' contribution in the UK itself is very significant. So Keir Starmer understands this relationship. So it is in the interest of the UK now to actually improve ties, and thanks to David Cameron, even Boris Johnson, and even Rishi Sunak also, जो चाहे कुछ भी हो, they had a very good relationship with India from 2010 से लेके अभी तक. And Keir Starmer clearly said, अभी तो last week में जो campaign कर रहे थे in the final days, वो अभी क्वींसबेरी में वो मंदिर भी गया था, माला पहना था, नमस्ते बोल के, तो he was all praised for the community की what contributions we do and how we wants to improve ties with India. So you could see कि the no matter what, the relationship between India and UK is only going to improve. And same with US, अभी Biden हो या Trump हो या France में हो, wherever there is, everybody wants to have a good, friendly and working partnership with India, because India is in the race. That is the fundamental thing that we have to understand, because it is in the UK's interest, no matter who is in the power, they have a very good understanding and relationship. But it will be very tricky, very difficult for the Labour Party, abhi jo current Prime Minister Keir Starmer, to improve that ties because of the baggage that he carries from his previous leader. तो उनको अभी तो क्या है, अभी यूके और अभी तो वो क्या बोलते हैं कि वो रोमांटिक टाइम में रहता है कि इनिशियल फ्यू डेज में he'll understand पूरा डायनामिक्स ऑफ द पार्टीज एंड ऑल दैट, बट इट इज अ चैलेंज फॉर हिम टू प्रूव. अभी तो बोलना तो आसान है, मीठा मीठा बोलना तो आसान है, लेकिन टू पुट दैट इन प्रैक्टिस वी हैव टू वेट एंड वॉच. बट जो कम्युनिटी का या आपको अगर if you tell inside the party also, they want to have a friendly ties with India no matter what.
India is a big market. They don't want to lose it. It's as simple as that.
Exactly. And also one word comes back and back again in the whole labor campaign is word called change. So what he's saying is, जो past जो हो गया सो हो गया है, लेकिन अभी तो हम change हुए. So he wants to prove that we are changed, but it will take some time for everybody to see what that real change is, or is it really changed, or is it going to be the same old, as बोलते हैं ना कि old wine in a new cup बोल के. So is it going to be same old in a new cup, or is it really a new changed party बोल के. But no matter what, as I said, because of the influence of India's rise, in the world stage, it knows. And from India's point of view, I'm sorry to say, from India's point of view, India sees UK as a mid-level power. It doesn't see UK as a world power anymore, for whatever reasons, internally, because it sees that Britain is on the downhill in the next 2 decades or 3 decades. It is going to be a mid-level. So it want to have a very good relationship with UK, no doubt about it, but they are not really fussed about. And one of the important things that he mentioned, Keir Starmer also, there is a free trade agreement going on, discussions going on at least from last 5 years or more than that. And Boris Johnson ने बोला था 2019 में कि this Diwali we will sign the free trade agreement. So Keir Starmer was joking कि so many Diwalis have gone, but we did not sign a free trade agreement with India. Even David Lammy was quoting to it, is कि our prime interest focus would be to see this free trade agreement between India and UK signed as soon as possible. So, I mean, there is a clear indication that they want to improve ties with India. They want to do business with India. And for India's point of view, India sees UK as a mid-level power, but wants to have a very good, relationship with India, forgetting the जो British Raj का जो है ना हमारा है, nobody counts that, nobody even remembers that bit when it comes to India UK relations anymore.
Right. The thing is that Keir Starmer should not be very hopeful of signing a free trade agreement because it's always a give and take. The way United Kingdom has harbored and I would say cultured the Khalistanis or nourished the Khalistanis right from the time they were ruling India, it will be a give and take. It will not be an easy cakewalk with no matter which party is there. Because see, even Rishi Sunak was there, but we never expected him to do anything for India except for being son-in-law or whatever of so and so, Sudha Murthy and Infosys people. But the day we did a video on, in fact, I think Kishoda, you also remember the day we did the video and we were sharing the news. We remember we were not very happy about it. He's just Indian, yeah, it's okay. He came out, he has some links to India, but he's not Indian. He's not a citizen. He has no Indian interest in his mind. Those are the points to note. And he actually proved that because so many things happened. I mean, the embassy was attacked, and there was hardly any steps taken. So you cannot expect these people to be just because they have an Indian name and he started celebrating Diwali. His wife has visited Akshardham. Please, all these things now. I think even the Indians have become very smart because the power of social media has been spreading around everywhere, and people know when people are doing drama and when they actually mean it. When you actually mean it, then the embassy would have had higher security. All the people attacking the embassy would have been behind the prisons by now. So free trade agreement, I think they should forget about it, at least till the time they're not taking some substantial actions on the Khalistani elements, or even on the ISI elements who have made UK as their headquarter. For some people writing, I mean, I can see the comments. People are saying it has become London's son, and which is a fact. I mean, we cannot deny the fact that population the population of the immigrants is outgrowing the ethnic population, the white British people. And it is not happening in one area, it is happening all across United Kingdom. Ireland, Wales, Scotland, you name it, and everybody is there. They're giving their hotels to these people to live. I mean, it's a fool's act, I would say. And it is it's an imagination or a hallucination for an immigrant to think that he'll get a 5-star hotel, warm hot food and things like that. I mean, toys to play for their infants and the newborns, and they're being encouraged to produce more and more children so that UK can have more population in coming years. Who
Ji,
spoils their country in such a royal way the way UK has spoiled their country? Gee.
Ji, I mean, you're absolutely right in almost all the points that you mentioned, but in this particular point of Rishi Sunak, I actually pity him, Rishi Sunak, poor guy, because what happens is he's being bombarded with from both the sides. The UK citizens or people who are against him, they say कि he's Indian बेचारा, और इंडियन से कि वो इंडियन है लेकिन इंडिया के लिए कुछ नहीं करेगा. But he is in a very a cocktail soup in a way, because I never said he is Indian. He is Indian origin, number one. He's a Hindu. He's a British
I
Hindu,
think
not a
we are
Muslim.
living. Uh, I agree. He's gay. He's become a sandwich between two ideologies or between two sides of people. But when there are situations like that, the best way is to come clear. Whosoever wants to stand with you will stand with you. Whosoever doesn't want to stand with you will not stand with you. And
Absolutely.
the moment you make your stand clear, you're actually what you're doing is actually you are. Maybe some people will criticize you for some time. Maybe some people will not like you for some time. But eventually, if you're of use to them and if your activities help them, they will come back to you. This is how the elections happen, and this is how voting happens. And nobody in India expected that he's going to do anything for India, or nobody even in I'm sure UK was expecting Rishi Sunak to do anything substantial for Indians or Hindus there. We saw what
Like,
happened in Leicester,
ना exactly
right?
what happens is जो Indian High Commission के साथ जब attack हुआ था, so I mean the people were caught and they were caught and put in prison. So the usual process takes care itself basically, and the security has improved since then. But the thing is that is a normal process. Doesn't have to have a prime minister intervened to have a security at the High Commission or arrest somebody done. But the main here is he's very clear. He's a British and he's a following he's a practicing Hindu. And that is very clear. And for if anybody else has any apprehensions or any doubts about it, it's their own problem. But Rishi Sunak is very clear. He is a British and he's a practicing Hindu, and there's no absolutely no wrong with that. And it is very good that, and I'm really proud that from where his grandparents have come from, and to reach to that highest level of office in this country, it takes extraordinary hard work and a talent and luck at the same time. But one important point that I wanted to mention कि जब लिस्टर्स के बाद इनका टर्न आया था प्राइम मिनिस्टर बनना, the foremost thing that it was in his hands कि the ask was कि inflation तब 11.2% reach हुआ था. The inflation was at 11.2 because of what has happened through the midterm budget during Listrus. So the first thing he was asked to do, because he was a chancellor before that, is to fix the economy. So the target set was 2%. And just before calling elections, the target has been reached. The inflation now is at 2%. So his own goal has been achieved. So he is actually successful for the reason why he was put in place in the first place. That's what I say. Actually, he said today कि जब वो last speech बोल रहा था कि one of the first things in my hands at the time when I became prime minister was to fix the economy, to fix the inflation from 11.2 to 2%, which I achieved, and to continue to do my way of things and priorities, I need a mandate. So he was absolutely right. He did not cling to the power to the last minute, like many of the party members expected कि मैं last minute तक मेरा time है तो मैं cling करूंगा. But he was morally also he was right. But the only thing that prospects have changed during the campaign कि वो D-Day बोलते हैं ना आपको, ये second World War के time पे जो soldiers मर गए थे उनके नाम पे 80 years anniversary का D-Day बोल के फ्रांस में हुआ था last month. So he went there after the British ceremony is over. He actually flew back to give an interview with ITV here in London, here in the UK. And there was another program immediately followed by British program wherein the foreign secretary was represented. David Cameron represented the UK from there. So from there he got a backlash. He could not stay there for longer. He came back to give an interview. So from there twists of turns have started, because until the campaign started, all the calculations why he went into elections can easily guessed really. And what happened afterwards कि जो खुद के कंजर्वेटिव पार्टी के जो कैंपेन चीफ मेन कैंपेनिंग मैनेजर रहता है ना, उसने बेट किया था कि इलेक्शन डेट कब होगा, कि he will be the first person, one of the first person to know कि elections कब होने वाला है. And during the campaign itself, it came to light कि one of the conservative MPs ने खुद अपने ऊपर बेट किया था कि 8,000 pounds almost कि मैं हार जाऊंगा. So when these came into light, the narrative has changed. And Telegraph ने एक आर्टिकल लिखा था about 2-3 weeks ago कि is Rishi Sunak losing his own seat. बहुत सारे लोग, the majority of the people only read the headline. बहुत सारे लोग मेरे को कॉल करके पूछ रहे थे कि किशोर जी ये क्या हो रहा है, ऋषि सुनक is losing his own seat. लेकिन वो आर्टिकल कोई पूरा नहीं पढ़ा था. मैंने पढ़ा था. It was till the end. Towards the end, the conclusion was कि ये हो ही नहीं सकता कि ऋषि सुनक हार सकता है उस सीट में जहां conservatives have been winning from 1910 से लेके. तो the narrative has been set. The influencing has been done through all this messaging that कि वो खुद हार रहा है. So you see, you influence the voters to actually say कि अरे देखो लेबर तो कैसे तो भी जीतने वाला है कि what's the point, तो इनको करेंगे उनको करेंगे. So this was one of the reasons why during the campaign itself things have turned upside down for Rishi Sunak and the Conservative Party itself. But यहाँ से लेके, if you see यहाँ से लेके the Conservative Party has also had the baggage of 14 years of incumbency, anti-incumbency I would say. And as I said, minister to minister, prime minister to prime minister, five prime minister, and the war in Ukraine, Israel और Palestine के बीच में जो recently start हुआ था, and COVID mainly, and majority of the time 2016 से लेके almost till 2020 before the COVID started, all the energy, all the policies were at Brexit. Get Brexit, पूरा का पूरा जो narrative था ब्रेक्सिट के ऊपर ही था, उनका टाइम चला गया था. So that was one of the main reasons why they could not deliver also in the first place. So there was a baggage. So unfortunately for Rishi Sunak, in spite of all the hard work, in spite of all the good work he has done, he came at the tail end of that anti-incumbency. सो अगर वो लिस्ट के टाइम पे उससे पहले आया और था तो इंस्टेड ऑफ लिस्ट ट्रस्ट उस टाइम पे, देन थिंग्स कुड हैव बीन कंप्लीटली डिफरेंट, क्योंकि वो जो मिनी बजट कॉस्ट ऑफ क्राइसिस वो सब नहीं होते, तो ही कुड हैव डन अ लॉट डिफरेंटली हिज ओन पॉलिसीज. सो बट I think I see क्यों जनरल कमेंट्स जो टॉक में सुनता रहता हूँ, आई when I talk to different kinds of people, is that as a person, Rishi Sunak, everybody respects until that D-Day happened. Everybody respects कि he's a man of integrity, वो hard working है, he's a 24/7 prime minister, that. But they were against the party because of all the back to back क्या हो रहा था पार्टी के नाम पे. But individually as a man he earned that respect, which is good for him as a credible person going forward. From now on you'll have to see how the things will turn. And usually क्या होता है यूके में, from the last, at least from 60s, कि अगर एक पार्टी पावर में आए, इट इज नॉट जस्ट 5 years, तो वो एटलीस्ट 2-3 टर्म्स करते हैं. तो मार्गरेट ट्रैचर से लेके 79 to 92 जॉन मेजर तक, एंड 92 जॉन मेजर जीता, 97 टोनी ब्लेयर आया था टिल 2010. सो it's not an easy end for any party who comes into power within 5 years, unless they do very stupid, completely out of the world. But you can expect ki from now on we have to get used to labor India. Yes sir. But one of the important points for our kind of audience, something concerning in the UK, Gayatri ji, is that in some of the seats, we talked about Leicester. In Leicester, one of the Leicester seats, an independent candidate has won. An independent candidate has won only with the stand of Gaza. He actually won only, कुछ नहीं है इंडिपेंडेंट कैंडिडेट. ही डिड नॉट से कि मैं ये करूंगा वो करूंगा, वहां डैम बनूंगा, यहाँ रोड बनाऊंगा, कुछ नहीं है. मैं गाजा को सपोर्ट करूंगा, बस. दैट वाज हिज ओनली एजेंडा. एंड लेस्टर में एक है, एंड उसके बाजू वेरी अगल बगल शिवानी राजा बोल के, शी वॉन फ्रॉम कंजर्वेटिव. एंड इट इज फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम आफ्टर 37 years कि एक कंजर्वेटिव वहां जीती. 37, and a Hindu. And of course Keith was, he actually won previously, lekin a conservative jeetna, it's a big statement on its own. The changing dynamics of Leicester and the Hindu community, the Indian community in the UK, the growing influence. And not just one, Blackpool mein, and so many other seats where independents won. There are at least 3 to 4 independents of one, out of which some are completely Gaza, nothing. Their agenda is only Gaza. So you can see the trend of where it's going. And some of the votes that Labour lost, you're saying that the swing from last time to this time is only 1.6% Labour. Lekin so many votes have eaten up by independents who actually stood on simple as that Gaza. So you can see where this societies, different societies are going towards in the UK.
थैंक यू सो मच किशोरदा फॉर ज्वाइनिंग. हाँ, डीजे वाले बाबू एक कमेंट दे रहे हैं और हमारे लिए कमेंट काफी इंपॉर्टेंट है. ही सेइंग एक बढ़िया फॉल्ट लाइन यूके भी डिजर्व करता है. एक नहीं है, फॉल्ट लाइन्स बहुत है यूके की. वो तो ये है कि हम लोग अभी बात नहीं करें. वी हैव बीन डिफेंसिव. आई थिंक दादा वी कैन ऑलवेज टॉक अबाउट द फॉल्ट लाइन्स इन यूके, बट आई नो ही कैन नॉट टॉक. यस, बहुत सारी फॉल्ट लाइन्स है यूके में.
There are fault lines in UK. Agree. There are fault lines in US. There are fault lines in India. So wherever you want to see a fault line, yes, they are there. But the overall, the sense of the pride, or that whenever there's a tectonic shift, बोलते हैं ना. So they say 2014 में मोदी ने जीता, back to back. So that was a tectonic change. So you could see this as a 2014 movement in the British politics. And from now on, I fully trust and respect Sir Keir Starmer, because recently, just about last week, he said that there is no place for Hindu phobia in UK. So he is very clear that he doesn't want to do any appeasement politics. At least the Change Labour Party doesn't want to do any appeasement of any minorities. But in Europe, the whole of Europe, the diversity, multiculturalism, it was an experiment in the last decade. It was an experiment, part of the experiment at least. And that somehow for me is nearing to fail. It's backfired for for that particular country, be it Germany, be it France, even France. Maybe you can do another episode on France. Their far right has come into government there. So you could see world over the experiment of this multiculturalism, inviting other people into their country, has actually starting to backfire. But thankfully in the UK, it's not that bad, to be honest, क्योंकि यहाँ का डाइवर्सिटी जो है, यहाँ का जो टॉलरेट बोलते हैं ना हम, टॉलरिज्म, वो टॉलरेट करना थोड़ा 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 ज्यादा है, only when you integrate. So these people, when they come here, they expect to integrate into society rather than being an isolated. So the fault lines has always been there, but the overall consensus अगर देखा तो UK will actually come out of all this, is my understanding.
Okay. Why I think a couple of people are commenting on the fault lines is probably because the deep state, which is basically spread over UK, USA, and couple of European countries. This deep state has been meddling in the internal affairs of the Indian elections. Not from now, from I think when we became independent, right from that time also.
जी.
सो वाई पीपल आर सेइंग दिस, क्योंकि जब अभी समबडी रोड कि जब उनके घर में आग लगी होगी तो हमारे घर में इंटरफेयर करना बंद करेंगे. सो मैं अपने व्यूअर्स को बताऊंगी कि आई थिंक बहुत सारे व्यूअर्स जो जियो पॉलिटिक्स में फॉलो करते हैं, आई ट्राई एंड कीप द 10:30 शो इन द नाइट, अ जियो पॉलिटिकल शो, बिकॉज वेस्ट की ऑडियंस काफी जुड़ती है. जैसे स्कॉटलैंड है, वेल्स है, आयरलैंड है, ये कुछ नहीं है. यूनाइटेड किंगडम कहाँ से आया? वो ब्रिटेन था. सो देर आर लॉट ऑफ सेपरेटिस्ट ग्रुप्स. एंड आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट माई खालिस्तानी पीपल, जो भारत में बहुत खालिस्तान, अरे यहाँ पे पाकिस्तान इंडिया के बीच में ट्रॉपिकल कंट्री, गर्मी में, परेशानी में, कहा यूके में भी बहुत सारे एरिया है. आयरलैंड में मैं सुन रही हूँ खालिस्तान की तैयारी हो रही है पूरी. एंड आई थिंक दे शुड कंटिन्यू विद दैट मोमेंटम. कुछ सपोर्ट वपोर्ट चाहिए होगा तो बताइएगा, हम आपके फेवर में बहुत सारी आवाजें उठाएंगे जी. ऑन दैट फनी,
when you said about UK ka jo different countries together is called UK, as you know, Scotland, England, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland में for the first time, very interesting कि there's a party called Sinn Féin यहाँ का. They are a Ireland party actually. So they want to integrate the Northern Ireland back to Ireland. So that party has won highest number of seats.
The right wing, I mean, again the Rashtravadi or the right wing on the rise
has come back. लेकिन again contrast Scotland में Scottish National Party बोलते हैं SNP, and they have been in power from last 20 plus years, right? And 2019 elections में they have swept, like out of 42 seats in Scotland, they have won 38, right? And this time, you know how many seats they won? 9 seats out of 38. They won last time. They won 9 seats, and they lost miserably. And Labour won there. Even in Wales, there were other parties also. जो prime Wales जो local party रहता ना, they won 4 seats, but everything swept by Labour. And Labour is National Assembly रहता है, local जैसा state government जैसा, and that Labour was in power for the last 20 years. And you know why Labour won in Wales? Is because डबल इंजन का सरकार का फॉर्मूला यूज किया था कि अभी तक देखो इतने 14 साल से वहां कंजर्वेटिव था, हमारा लेबर था, अब कुछ नहीं हो पाया, हमने कुछ नहीं कर पाया, अभी देखो हमारा नेशनल भी वहां लेबर गवर्नमेंट आएगा तो हम वेल्स के लिए अच्छा करेंगे. सो दे हैव यूज्ड डिफरेंट काइंड्स ऑफ मैसेजिंग इन डिफरेंट प्लेसेस. वहां नॉर्दर्न आयरलैंड में तो वहां गया, स्कॉटिश में SNP अभी हो गया, और वेल्स में they've used this double engine सरकार. So the messaging for different kinds of people have gone different ways. And one interesting last point I would say, another important party is the Liberal Democrats. So the last time they won were only 7 or 9 seats in 2019. Okay, and 2010 में जब David Cameron came, he was just short of the majority. So they came into agreement, जैसे coalition government. That was the very first time that a coalition government formed in the UK, 2010 में, for which they were punished badly, back to back, 2015 में, 2017 में, 2019 में. But this time around, they pulled it back. They said कि we are sorry, we understand कि आपका जो anger है, so we will not enter into any coalition government. तब से लेके they are seen as a center right. बेसिकली मिडिल ग्राउंड में रहता है कि फेडरलिज्म भी चाहिए, वो भी चाहिए, सब चाहिए, अच्छे रहना के, मैं भी अच्छा, तुम भी अच्छा, सब दिस काइंड ऑफ पीपल. सो दे वॉन अबाउट 70 सीट्स दिस टाइम, एंड दिस इज द ग्रोइंग ट्रेंड. I would say this is a growing trend that is the majority of the Britons are looking towards, not left, not reform, but a center right. So as long as conservatives can reform itself, I'm using that tactically, as long as the conservatives can reform itself into a center right, addressing the concerns, it will be a tough journey for them to come back to power. And they will come back to power. I'll tell you
जी,
that.
thank
It's a cycle. It's always been a cycle कि 10 साल 15 साल फिर से एक नया पार्टी आना, तो they will come back to power.
राइट राइट थैंक यू सो मच किशोरदा फॉर ज्वाइनिंग जाने से पहले सभी व्यूअर्स से रिक्वेस्ट है प्लीज लाइक सब्सक्राइब और शेयर करना ना भूलें अगर आप कंट्रीब्यूट करना चाहते हैं तो यूपीए स्क्रीन के ऊपर है आप फीडबैक देना चाहते हैं मुझसे जुड़ना चाहते हैं तो सभी के सभी लिंक्स डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में इसी के साथ जय हिंद जय श्री राम हर हर महादेव
नमस्ते.